Hello guys and girls, in today's tutorial we're going to be working with CSS animations and transitions. You can see the animations, the circles moving around and stuff like that, and if I refresh you'll see it comes and clicks. So this you can, oh shit, it's now blank. Okay, cool. Yeah, so you can see it comes down. Yeah, okay, so that's what we're going to be doing in today's tutorial. I'll be giving you guys step by step way of how we're going to be doing it from scratch, from HTML to CSS, and I hope it will help and widen like your understanding in animations and transitions as well. So if I should go to my Visual Studio, I will just let's start off with it. Okay, yeah, this is my style sheet. So the index.html will click on exclamation mark and tab, then we'll see something like this. So we'll have so firstly I just like changing my titles to something cool, so I'll give it like my uh Charles GPT tech talk. Okay, so then the next one we go for link tab, the link, so the href would be style.css. Then we'll go to the body and make our container this thing we're going to style, because you need an HTML that you're going to style. So I'll have a div, then inside the div I'll have another div, then I'll give it classes. Then this one I'll give it like a class and I'll name it decoration. You can name it anything though, but make sure you keep it consistent when styling it in your CSS. So I'll name this decoration. Then inside this div is just an empty div, because we are this for the cycle, the cycles that we're just playing around. So the class would be circle. I'll just name it circle, and then I'll just copy this. um okay, so this is the circles, the four circles that we're playing around. You can see them here. These four circles, 1 2 3 4. So that's how I got to do it. So let's start up with this. So you can see how it goes. Then the div for this would be, I'll create another div and I will give it a class of wrapper. It will be wrapper. Then inside the div I'll have my h3 elements and I'll call it hello, or don't worry about the h3, you can use like h1 or something, but I'll work with h3. Then my button down as well, then to be click me. Okay, so you see how it is initially. So you save and we'll go to our style sheet so we can style up our style sheet. Then yeah, this is our style sheet. So then firstly I just like using my universal elements for this. So I'll remove all the margin. I'll call it margin 0 and padding 0, then box sizing. Since we are just doing about animations and transitions, no need for explaining box sizing, but default box sizing for browsers is content box, but you can set it to border box so it includes the padding and the margin in the width. Like if it's in border box, if you have like 10 pixels of padding and 20 pixels of margin, and your width is like, let's say 20 pixels, your width is 20 pixels, instead of content box, if it's content box it will just add everything up like 20 plus 20 plus 10. But if you're using border box, it just subtracts from your width and make an addition to it as well. So that's just a brief explanation. Then my font family, I like using Georgia for my font family, so you can do anything. So then I'll style the body, because the body is important. Then the body, I'll use a gradient for the background, linear gradient for the background. I'll give it like 153 degrees. Then comma, then you see I already have these colors in stock, so I have one A2, A6C. Okay, then this for blue, you can use any color you like, but I just want to make it like more matured or something like that. One BF, 2F, 1F. Okay, Then the next one we have on A2, A6C. Okay, so you can see how it goes. So now to fix this like this, because it just wraps together and stuff like that, because of the 135 degrees just wraps together. So to fix it, we're going to use like a mean height. It's not a good practice to use height unless I'm using like VH for the value. If I do it, you see it spreads out a little bit. Then we'll give like display flex, so we can be able to, sorry, this, so we can be able to move these items around. So I'll give justify content would be center. It moves vertical. So to bring it down here, we use align items to be center, then it brings it to the middle. Then we'll give overflow hidden, and it's not necessary, but you can just do it. Then I'll give padding to my this thing. It will be 20 pixels. It won't affect this yet because it's just for the body and stuff like that. Then we'll go to our wrapper. This is our wrapper class that we use to wrap our hello world and click me, so we can style, put a little bit of CSS on it. So we have dot wrapper. Wrapper would be, then I'll do text align center. You see everything goes to the center. You can be looking at this to see the functionalities. Then width, I like using my width as 100%, so it will be just like responsive and stuff like that. Then our max width for the wrapper would be 800 pixels. Okay, so the next one we are going to be doing would be h3 elements. We're going to be styling the h3, this hello world. Let's style it up. First of all, we'll just increase the font size so it will be very visible. So when I'm using font size, I like using rems, rem, so it will be responsive as well. So 5 rem, you see, so 5 rem, let's just use 5. Then I'll color it, I don't need RGB values or something. Let me use white smoke. White smoke, I think white smoke is cool. Then we'll use margin for the bottom would be 50 pixels, so it can give space between the click me. You can use transform as well, but let's just use margin bottom for more stuff like that. But I'll still use transform. Then text transform, we'll just transform it to uppercase. You see all are now uppercase. Then the next one will have like letter spacing, so we can give spaces between the letters. Let's just give like 3 pixels of spacing between each letter. Then the next one will have font weight. To increase the weight, let's make it bold. 800 is bold as well. You can just say bold, or 800. 800 is bold as well. So then we'll give it text shadow. Text shadow would be 10 pixels. We'll give like RGBA value. RGBA would be, so the shadow would be all color 25. It won't show that much though. 25, 25, 255, 255, 255, and 0.5. You see, it's still white because combination of all the colors are still white, but we'll just make it 0.5 so it will glow. You see, it's just glowing a little bit. That's what text shadow does. Then the next thing we're going to do is we'll do transform. We'll transform. So text transform would be translate. If you have watched my other video, you'll see how I explained well on transformation. So translate y, if we need it to come down, we can do like 100 pixels. You see it comes down, yeah, 100 pixels. You see it comes down. So you can use it to move things up and down. Translate y. So translate y, then we'll now do like minus 100 pixels. So we'll just move it a little bit up initially. Then there is something I want to show you guys. We're calling opacity. This opacity is for transparency. We have 0 and we have 1. So 0 is for making the text to be transparent, and you will not be able to see the text, but it's still there, but you won't be able to see the text and stuff. So if I put 0, you don't see it. If I put 1, you'll see the text, but we'll work with 0, so we won't see the hello world initially, but I'll still set it to 0. Let me just put it as 1 at first. Then we'll create our animation, so we can add it to our h3. So creating animations, we'll have keyframes. We'll name the animation, since we are going to make it drop down, we'll name it drop down. Okay, so let's go. So at 0%, at 0%, the oh shit, 0%, the opacity should be 0, like no visuals in it. So the opacity would be 0 at 0%, so you'll not be able to see it. Then we'll now start with transform, transform, we'll transform, then we'll do translate y. So it can drop from let me see minus 100 pixels. I think minus 100 pixels is not that high. Let me check minus 200. Okay, minus 200 is cool. I think we should just use minus 200 for the opacity. Yeah. Okay. So it will drop from minus 200 from up 200. Then when it's 70, let's give another distance so it can drop slowly. So we give like 70%. 70% would be opacity would be 1. Okay. Then the next one we have transform. Transform would be translate y. Translate y. So as it drops down, we'll just make it like, let's make it like 40 pixels or something. Let's make it 40 pixels. So it's not, let's see how 40 pixels we keep it using this one initially. So if we do 40 pixels, okay, it drops it down. Okay, cool. So let me just give this back. So we'll just make it 40 pixels. Then or let's make it 20. Yeah, it's more cool. Then next one, finally, where how it will stay initially after everything, we now give the opacity as 1 as well. Opacity should be 1, so it will be visible. Then we'll transform it to translate y. Then we'll remove the translate to 0 pixels, and yeah. So let's add a little bit of scaling to this thing so it can like scale, like increase. I talked about scale in my other video. So scale, let's scale this by, initially let it be 0.8, then we'll scale this with, it will be 1.1, then here would be scale. So like the reason I'm giving different scales and the middle one is greater is so that it can like be, it can, increase and reduce and stuff like that. So scaling. So we now use a text shadow in the end. So it can, once it drops, it starts glowing very well. Then I'll now give like a text shadow. I'll give 20 pixels to the text shadow. Then my best color, yeah. So then after that, I will give separated by comma and 40 pixels to the box shadow. Then I'll give like an RGBA value, RGBA value. Then it would be 186 218 85 and 0.8. Okay, so you see it's just still the same thing as this my color right here. It's still the same thing, you see. So then I'll give another text shadow, and it would be, I'll just copy this, Ctrl C, and I'll put it here and make this 60 pixels, and the brightness, the opacity would be 0.6. Okay, so these are our drop down animation. What will happen? So at 0% is not going to show, and it would be up to drop from up, then 70%, then 100%, everything. Then what we now need to do is to call it here. So we'll call the animation, we'll say animation. We are going to use the short form, so we'll not waste much time on it. So I'll call it drop down. Okay, so I've called the animation. So how long did I want it to last? I'll say, let us say 1.2 seconds. You see what happens, right? Let me refresh it again. You see, okay, you can add your delay. Like, let me say I add a delay of 1 second. You see, so it wastes time before it drops down. So then let me add alternate, so it just keeps going. Okay. Alternate supposed to make it to keep going. I think alternate is sorry. Alternate. Hmm, why is the alternate not going? Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Alternate reverse. Let me try reverse. I just wanted to check something. It was meant to keep going. It was meant to keep going though. So let's check it out. So I'll put a delay of 1 second so it will be cool. So this is just how I made the dropping of the dropping of the hello world and stuff like that. So let's keep going. So the next thing we're going to do is so lastly, let me just add forwards. No need for the leave. Let me just add forwards. Okay, so that's so that we know where it's going to end. It will end in the last one and stuff like that. So the next one we are going to be doing is button, styling our button up. So when styling our button, we'll just let's call our button and style it up firstly. Then background the background color of our button would be, let me use my favorite color, bad. Okay, shoot. Okay, so let's style our button. So the background color of our button, oh yeah, it's button. What's the problem? Oh, I made mistake. I put the button into our keyframes. So sorry. So I'll just enter here, Control V. Okay, so let's style up our button. And then the color should just be, let me use this RGB color that came to my mind. Tab, yeah, green, a little bit green, or black. Yeah, I meant to say. So then border would be none, no border. Then border radius. Let's put like a border radius. We don't need a border, so we'll put like a border radius. Border radius would be 50 pixels, so it will be circles thus. So add padding. So you see how the thing is just jump packed. It's just put together. So we have padding like 2 pixels to 50 pixels. Okay. So you see it's now more like a little bit visible. Then the next one we have font size. Font size would be, I'll make it 2 rem. Cool. 2 rem, or let me just do 2.2 rem. Let it be more visible. Then next one we're going to do is font weight. The weight of the font would be bold. And we just change the cursor. You see the cursor initially is just like a normal cursor, but if we do this cursor pointer, it's just changed to arrow when we hover around it. So the next one would be box shadow. Let me add a little bit of box shadow because it's exciting to add. So box shadow, I'll just give this value to the box shadow 0, 0, 15 pixels. Then RGBA value would be 186 218. And okay, it's already giving me what I want, so I'll just click on it. 0.6. Let me just clear this away. But I'll make this 0.5. Okay. So you can see a little bit of box shadow there. If you can't see it, let me make it 9. So you can just see like a little bit of box shadow there, but let's keep it as 5. So the next one is letter spacing. I don't think it's necessary, but let's just space the letters. The spacing, I'll just give like pixels for spacing. It's not unnecessary, but it still works. Then the next one, I think we should just add this opacity. Let me add opacity. No. Let me add transform. Transform would be translate. Let's use translate X this time. Translate X, so you guys can see how it works. So translate X, we use 100 pixels. It makes it push it right like this a little bit. If you use minus 100 pixels, it pushes it left. If you use 100 pixels, it pushes it right and stuff like that. So you can use opacity as well to clear the image and stuff like that. So we'll do our hover in the bottom. We're going to do our hover firstly. Then let's say let's try doing our button hover, button dot hover. So what will happen if you hover around the button? Then we'll now change the background color to this. Let me change it to my favorite color, and let me just make it bad. So if we hover around it, it just changes to purple or something like that. It's not that cool, but we'll add transition to make it more cool. Oh no, let me just make it like this, my one. Okay, then I'll just reduce something in it. Let me make it a little bit dark. Bit dark. I think this is cool. Okay, yeah, cool. So this is cool. So next thing we're going to do, you see, it's not responsive. It's just clicking. It's just going. It's not responsive that much. So we'll go for then let me transform it to Sorry, why is my caps lock on? Transform would be scale. I'll scale it to 1.1. Okay. So on hover, transform scale. Why is it moving to that direction? It just goes back to, let me remove this translate X. Yeah, it makes it confusing. So if you see once I hover around it, it scales to 1.1. It increases. Then the next one I'm going to do is I really want to add a background, a box shadow to this, but let me just add it. Box shadow would be, let me do 0.30 pixels. I'll use an RGBA value and just do 0.00 and 0.9. Okay, so it will give like a little bit of black or something like that. Black when you hover around it. I don't know if you're seeing the black, but this color is too dark, right? Let me make it a little bit lighter. I don't know if you're seeing the hover function there. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is, no need for line spacing, but let me add line spacing so you guys can see something. Sorry, not line spacing, I mean letter spacing. Let me add letter spacing of 3 pixels so you guys can see. If I increase it, it spaces the letter out a little bit. You can see, I don't know if you can see it, spaces the letter out when I hover around it. So I will put letter spacing of 3 pixels. So to show you how it works, you can play around with it. Say 10, let me use 10. You see how it spaces out everything at 10, but we are going to stick with 3. You can see, just normal, cool, and something like that. So then we are going to style our, what else are we going to style now? Let's do our keyframes, our animation. So at keyframes would be, let's call it slide in, because we need the button to slide in. As this one drop, our button will slide in. Okay, I'll just call it slide in. Then the same thing we did for this one, but we're going to change the opacity. So I'll just copy the drop down, Control C. So, and I'll use it for our sliding. Okay, so but this time around we are going to change some things. We are not going to use X. We're not going to use X and scaling like that. So initially X would be 100 pixels. Wait, let me change this. Let me remove this scale. Initially X should be 100 pixels, and then the opacity of this one should be, let me just cancel this. Then this should be minus 10 pixels, and let's see. Lastly, the other one, make sure it's X not Y. So because we are trying to slide in, not drop down. So the next one would be X. So it will now stay in its normal position. I'll remove this text shadow because it's not necessary. Let me just remove it. Okay, so it's initially from 0%, the opacity is 0, so it will be transparent. Then it will start from the right and slide in. We can make this like 200 pixels as well. So it will start from the right, like 200 pixels from the right, and slide in. It will start from right minus 10, then slide in to its initial position at 100%. So the next one we're going to do now is call our sliding function right here. Firstly, let's work on transition. So the transition would be transition. The transition would be Let's call it all. We're going to transition all for the hover button, and we'll make it, the transition should be 0.5 seconds. Let me just make it 1 seconds for duration. Then we just do ease, normal ease initially. So you can see how it just makes it look cool. Like if I remove this now, if I hover it, you see it just like no, stuff like that. But since I use transition and sorry, since I use transition, you see how it makes it look cool. Delays a little bit, 1 second, and it's the transition stays for 1 second, and all of them, everything just goes well. So that's the use of transition. So I just added a little bit of transition. Then now let's call our animation. So I'll just type animation would be, our animation's name is slide in. Then the duration would be, let's make it 1.2 seconds. Let's see. You see how it does, what happens, right? It doesn't look that cool though, but it still works. So let me make it like, let me put it a little bit of delay, 1 second's delay. So once the hello world drops down, it now delays a little bit before sliding in the click me. Then I'll put forward so it stays like that. Forward so it ends initially. Okay. So you see how it works, right? Very cool. So I think I should increase the delay. So with like 2. You can do anything you want to do with it since it's your page. So if I refresh this now, then the, okay, let's just add opacity so it won't show initially. Let's add opacity to the button. Opacity, I'll just call opacity initially 0. You see, so let's make it, yes, exactly, that's what I was trying to make. Cool. So the opacity is initially 0, so you will not be able to see the button, then it will slide in. Let me check for the font, the H3. Okay, let's change the H3 opacity to be initially 0 as well. Okay. Then you see it's just slides in. Okay, so I think that's it for our button and our H3. So we can go into the circling and stuff like that. So I don't know if there's any other thing I'm missing, but I just hope it's it. So the next one now, we're going to go to our decoration. This, let me save this. So if I will go to our decoration, this our class for circles. So we'll work on those circles that I showed you guys. Okay, so now go here and put our dots. Decoration would be, so our decoration would be, let's just position it absolute so we can be able to move it around. Position absolute so we'll be able to move the things inside around, and our z index would be initially set as 1. Okay, and I'll show you guys why, sorry, I mean not 1, -1. And I'll show you guys why it's like that, why it should be set as -1. Because you have to so the stack will be able, so it won't make the program look lame, so it can be able to cover some of these things when necessary. Don't worry, I'll show you what it does. Okay, so it can be like behind this thing. If not, it will just be like, to just make it look, you know but let's work with the circle first. So we'll now call the class circle. This is our class circle class. Okay, so I'll just come down right here and say dot circle. Okay, oh, I didn't spell it well. Circle. So the next thing, you know that it's just a div. So and it's an empty div. There's nothing there. But once we start putting the things, you'll be seeing the div. So div will make it 150 pixels. Okay, so the height would be same 150 pixels, and the next one is border radius. The border radius would be, let's add a background first so we can be seeing the circle. I think it's more cute, cool. Okay, let us add everything. So the border radius would be, let's add a background before the border radius so you guys will see what happens. So we'll have like a background color. No, let me use an RGBA value for it. So you can use background color or just normal background, but let me use RGBA of the distance. So the value would be, I just like using RGBA values and some other of my best distance. So let me just put this tab. You can see the div container right here, and it's not cool. It's not cool. So let me reduce the opacity to 0.2. So now let's add our border radius would be 50%. So this makes it round up. You see, it's now like circle, 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 circle. That's how we got those circles. And the next thing we're going to be doing is let's position it to be absolute. Position absolute. So you see how it goes. You're no more seeing the circle, it just stacks up on one each other and stuff like that. So the next thing we're going to be doing is then we are going to create an animation for the circle as well. But firstly, let's use ends of child selector to select the position of everything so it doesn't stack upon on top like on each other. So the next thing we're going to do now is dot circle ends child. So the child we're going to be looking for now is child 1. Let's go for child 1 firstly. So child 1, the end of child 1, the first child would be, we'll say top. The top should be, let's make it 20%. Then the next left, the left would be 10%. Okay. Then the next one, we'll still add our animation and stuff like that, but for now let's just do the top and the left for everything. So the top, let me just copy this, Control C, and do it for this one, do it for this one, do it for this one. So since we are working with 4 circles, I'll do end of child 2, end of child 3, end of child 4. So top is 20 pixels and 20% and 10% for the first child. So the second child would be, it just generates random numbers so we can be able to spread things out. So the next child left and 80% of this. So this one would be 40 and 70% of this. Then this one would be 70 and 20. 70. This one 20. Sorry, 20. Let's just make it 20. Okay. So the next thing now we're going to be doing is calling our class, our keyframes, so we can be able to make the items float around each other, you know. So what we're going to do now is add keyframes so we can use our animation to make the things go around. So floats would be floats. So we'll just do 0% to 100% would be 0% to 100% would be initially 0, 0, 0. Transform translates y would be 0 and translates x would be 0. So the next one we're going to be doing would be 25%. Sorry, 25%. 25% would be translates y minus 40 pixels and translates x. Translates x will now make it 30 pixels. Okay, so let me just copy this and paste it right here. 25, and I'll make this 50. So at 50% we'll do translate y equals, make this 20 pixels, and this would be minus 20 pixels. Okay, so the next one we're going to do now is 75%. At 75%, make this 75%. We'll translate this to 30 pixels and this to 40 pixels. Okay. Oh, that's a long tutorial though. So the next thing now we're going to be doing is then we'll call our animation. Let's go back to our circle and we'll call our animation. So let me come down right here. Animation would be float for Let's make it 10 seconds. Yeah, where is all our circles? Why is there only one circle that is floating? Oh, yeah, I've seen what's the problem. So we have to call the animation as well here as well. So we'll call our animation on all the, but this time we're going to just do like delays for it. Delays would be 0 seconds. And let me just copy this so we can be able to see all our circles. Control C. So this would be, let me put this here. So I'll make this 2, then I'll make this 4, and I'll make this 6. You see, you see how it's spreading out one after the other. It goes from top left, so it takes the delays and be spreading out, stuff like that. So that's how we came across our web page, how we just did something similar to this. So let me add something to this. Let me add infinite to this so it doesn't stop. You see our animation just stops now, but it's not cool if it stops. So let's just add infinite and then a time function to it, is in out to it. So now I think it's cool now. So that's all we have. Let me open it in our browser so you guys can see it very clearly. If I open this in our browser, you see it drops in, and then this one drops by the right. So you can use it for your your web pages. Let's say you want to do like something responsive about your portfolio or something, you can use this. Let's say you say drop and enter, and you see the circles still just moving and scattering around. So you just you to know what you want to do, you drop and enter, and you know, maybe you can just write your name or something like that. You can see the hover function, click me to go to your portfolio or something like that. So if you found this video useful, if you found this video useful, just like, comment, and don't be afraid to subscribe to this channel. And I'll be designing more web pages and teaching more on CSS and HTML as well in my other videos. So if you found this video useful, or maybe you just learned something from it, I hope you join our channel and be better in designing your web pages and stuff like that. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you guys in the next video.